So good morning, everybody. My name's Richard Duffy. I am the Product Evangelist and the Vice President of Partner Strategy Enablement at Acumatica. And I'd like to welcome you to lecture number 2 in our series of Demo University sessions that are really part of our very first semester in the Demonstration University. Now, you'll recall last week I introduced you to the idea behind the Demo University, really giving you an opportunity to learn the very latest that we're doing from an Acumatica perspective. Learn how to demonstrate the product, learn how to position the product, how to position the product strategy, how to talk about all the different things that are likely to come up in a customer sales or pre-sales engagement. And, really what we want to do is make sure that these sessions are focused on covering the things that are important to you. The first few are going to be very much focused on some of the basics that I have prepared content for. But then again, we want to move it into a more of an interactive mode where you will have the ability to put your hand up and say, I would like to show how I demonstrate Acumatica, or I would like to share with other partners how I find is an effective way to position Acumatica, or how you are able to compete effectively against Sage or Intact or NetSuite or any of the usual suspects that we bump into. So really the whole concept behind this is it's all about you, and I want to make sure that we cover the things that are important to you. So you need to let me know what those things are. So just as a quick reminder, after each one of these sessions, they do get recorded. And when there are materials being made available, you'll also find those materials attached to where the recording is located. So you'll always be able to find them up on YouTube, of course, but then if you go to the partner portal, and you should be able to see the partner portal right now on your screen, you'll see that right now the top article is the posting of last week's Demo University session, and then a number of people reached out to me and said, hey, where is the session recordings and how do I register? So if you go here, you'll find this is where you can go and register for the Demo University, and remember, you do need to register for each week. And here is last week's recording. So you'll see not only is the YouTube session embedded in the page, but also any presentations and any materials that I utilize in the session are actually covered here and embedded in the Demo University. So last week's session we talked about the new messaging, which is really focused on positioning Acumatica as a solution that helps unlock business potential for our customers. And it does that by focusing on 3 key areas, which is empowering your people, taking control of your business, and playing to your strengths. Now, one of the things that I said I was going to do this week was we're going to look at how I like to present Acumatica and how I like to take people through that deck, and in particular, when I'm doing the initial demonstration of Acumatica. So I am going to cover that with you. But there's a couple of things that I think are going to be really, really helpful for you to familiarize yourself with just before we get going. The first of those is the concept of demonstration data. When you're doing a demonstration of Acumatica, it's really important that you've got a demonstration data set that is relatively ready for you to start working with. Now, we are right now in the middle of completely rebuilding our demo data. Now, if you're all unmuted, I'm sure I would hear a cheer from many of you, because I know that has been one of the pieces of feedback from a lot of people that they really wanted us to do something about. And the good news is everyone's very good friend and mine, Desert Doug Johnson, who, by the way, just became a father again for the second time, I believe, yesterday. He was going to join us on today's webinar, but fortunately or unfortunately, his new baby daughter came 3 weeks early yesterday. So right now, as you would expect, he's focused on looking after a mother, daughter, and his other child. So everyone's doing well, so just to let you know on that. But Doug has been working with Anita one of our consultants and trainers extraordinaire to build a whole new set of demonstration data. Now we're going one step further with that. Not only are we building demo data, we're building a complete, for want of a better term, virtual company. So not only will there be demo data, there will also be a virtual company website. It will have the Curve Commerce plugins and a website built using Magento. It will have a whole range of different components that really will enable you to effectively demonstrate and tell the story about how Acumatica does work for a company. Now, of course, most of you know that the secret to success is to really be able to focus on a particular industry, either at a horizontal level, i.e. wholesale distribution, professional services, light manufacturing, whatever the case may be, or to really get down to a specific vertical level. So, for example, you might be working with, high-tech distributors or distributors of electronic components or, distributors of perishable food products. So that's really what I call a vertical. And to demonstrate effectively into those verticals, you really have to have a good demo set for that. Our demo sets will never get to that level because for us to be able to build demo sets for every single one of those industries, it's just physically impossible. So our focus is on giving you a generic demo set that you can take and you can work with to build your additional components depending on the industries that you're interested in working on. And I can certainly help you out with a number of those different topics. And by the way, in next week's Demo University, which is actually scheduled for the 4th of July, and I'm sure you probably don't want to be spending your holiday sitting here on a webinar with me. So next week's webinar has been cancelled, and then we'll recommence the following Friday. So just remember, 4th of July, no session then. But the following Friday, I'm going to kick off with and talk about Acumatica in a specific unit, in a specific industry, and show you some of the ways that you can start to position yourself as an industry expert. And we're going to start off on the wholesale distribution space, and I'm going to show you a bunch of tools that I use to help me get that information, to help me engage with customers and talk knowledgeably as a trusted business advisor in that industry. But more about that the week after next. So we're building that new demo data set. Now, a number of people I've spoken to, I said, well, did you know we actually have an interim step available for you right now? And a number of people said, no, what the heck are you talking about, Richard? I didn't know that. Well, if you go here into sales and you go to demo materials on the partner portal, you'll actually see that we have a whole new content package put together for you. So there's a PowerPoint presentation, there's an Acumatica snapshot, and you'll all be aware of the fact that with Acumatica you can create snapshots of the data, and it's very easy to export and import those. So there is an Acumatica snapshot, which is a zip file which contains the enhanced demo data, which includes some dashboards, some special users and permissions, filters and additional reports, notifications, credit card processing, project templates, and a whole bunch more. Plus there's a Word document with step-by-step instructions that describe those enhancements that have been created so that you can modify and recreate them, as well as step-by-step instructions, as you can see here, on setting up a customer portal, doing your Excel spreadsheet synchronization, and showing intercompany transactions. And then I recorded a little step-by-step guide on how to prepare your data from the snapshot as well, and you'll see that's embedded in here as a YouTube video. So what I'm going to show you today and what I'm going to start taking you through today is based on that data set. So if when I open up Acumatica in a couple of seconds and start going through the content, and you're going, wow, gee, I wish I had that content. Well, this is where you go to get it. All right, so you go to this page, again, go into the partner portal, go to sales, go to demo materials. It comes up on this page, and if you scroll down, you'll see that there is a link there to download the generic demo package. You need build 4.20.80844, okay, or one of these builds, okay, because otherwise the data will not import. And because this is the latest build, 844, there's a link there with one click that you can go ahead and you can download that build and get that installed. All right. Now, if you do have problems during the installation process, please submit a pre-sale support case, or you can feel free to reach out to me, and I'll do my best to assist you with that. Okay, so hopefully that's all okay. Now, I'm just going to do a quick check to see if there are any questions right now that have come through. Andy's just asked, she doesn't see anything except the Acumatica partner screen and only a portion of it. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct, Andy. You know, we're going through this stuff right now. So again, that's where you can find that data. So with that, let's just go back, and I want to quickly review just in five short minutes the Acumatica standard company deck. All right. So in this standard company deck, remember, we've rebuilt this just recently. We talked about it last week. It's focused on the new messaging, which is also available from that same page, which is around Acumatica being a solution that helps you unlock your business potential. So I always make sure that the demonstration kicks in at a particular part in the presentation. So as I go through each one of these slides, and we talk a little bit about Acumatica, and remember, last week, what did I say? If you are doing a presentation to a customer, you really want to kind of leave this stuff till the end. But in our demo deck, we put it at the start because we use this. It was designed primarily for companies who'd never heard of Acumatica before, who didn't know anything about Acumatica. So I said last week, and I'll reiterate, don't talk about yourself first. All right? It's always a bad idea. You're already in the room. You are already face-to-face, or people are already connected with you over the webinar. So they don't really want to hear about you. They want to hear about what you're going to do for them. So these kinds of slides should always be at the end, unless the purpose is to specifically talk about you, all right? But 9 times out of 10, most people don't want to talk about you. They want to talk about themselves. So we have these slides, and you can add those in, and I would normally recommend that you pop those right at the end. Just really, it's about establishing your credibility. This is where I would traditionally start, where we talk about the evolution of ERP, and again, this is just about setting the expectation as to why Acumatica is, why the product has been developed, what is it that makes it different from all the other ERP solutions in the market. And then we go ahead and we look at you know, what cloud ERP is all about, and then we start talking about Acumatica and the fact that we're focused on unlocking business potential. Taking control of the business, playing to your strengths, and empowering your people are our 3 key messaging points that we like to talk about. Now, when you're demonstrating Acumatica, and sorry, just bear with me for 1 second. It looks like, no, it's okay. Somebody was trying to contact me on Skype. I thought it might have been regarding the presentation I was doing today, but it's not, so that's okay. Again, when you're doing your demonstration, hopefully by now you've all downloaded the product messaging guide, and you'll see in the product messaging guide there are specific points that are the proof points for every single one of these statements. So when we talk about taking control of your business, what is that about? What are the specific proof points that we talk about there? So you will want to talk about those proof points, but then you'll also want to demonstrate the specific area in the software, which is what we utilize to, to enable that. So we talk about the problem, talk about the challenge, and then show how we're going to address that with the product. Same for each one of those, playing to your strengths. So I would say to you, there's a couple of different ways that you can do your demonstrations. One of the things that if you come to my sales and pre-sales training at the upcoming Acumatica Partner Conference in Denver, in Colorado, in late August, I will be going through this whole concept in a lot more detail. 3 days of working together on building your sales and pre-sales skills, and we'll talk about a lot of the specifics of this, and we'll go into this in a lot more detail. But what you want to do is you want to break your demonstrations up into a number of smaller pieces, and I call those movie views of a demo. If you think about what happens in an action film, you need to have something which catches people's attention. Then you need to give them the background, and then you need to grab their attention again and give them the background. People can only process around about 7 to 10 minutes before you do something different. Just re-engages their brain, re-engages what we call their limbic system, which is the part of the brain that pays attention. So, you know, breaking your presentation up into this kind of format is ideal. So talking about each one of these sections, and I'm going to give you some specific tools and skills around doing that in that training session at the event, but you know, we're going to talk about them at a fairly high level right now. So then we go in and we talk about this whole concept of how do you make the right decision about software. Now, I would traditionally do the demonstration with this slide or just after this slide, okay? Because in this slide you're talking about you know, the whole concept of business processes. Now, in the last few months, we've won quite a few deals. We've also lost some, and we've lost some to NetSuite. And the feedback that we're getting is, why have we lost? And a number of the prospects that we've been engaged with have come back and said, NetSuite just seemed to do a better job of positioning the solution and doing the demo around the roles that people have inside the organization. So my call to action for you is to think about how you do those demonstrations and focus on this whole concept of roles. I'm going to get into the demo in a second, and I'll give you some specific examples of that. But think about breaking your demonstration up into each of those different roles. That gives you a couple of things that you can do, a couple of pieces of flexibility. And I'm just going to quickly exit out of Skype on here because it's going to drive me mad otherwise. And you can hear it going ping, ping, ping in the background. So, again, my apologies for that. So I'll just quickly sign out of there. And that's now gone. All right. So, you know, you want to really focus on breaking it up. And by breaking it up according to those roles, that also, if you're in a situation where you have to do multiple demos according to who's in the room, gives you a great framework for doing that. Today you've got the CFO, you know, tomorrow you're going to be presenting to the CEO, or, you know, maybe you're presenting to the line of business people. So utilizing this role-based way of demonstrating the software is really, really key. And of course, surprise, surprise, in the new demo data set, Doug Johnson's put together some very, very specific role-based scenarios that you can use. Okay. So, the quick review of the slide deck, quick review of where is the ideal place to do the demonstration. All right, and again, sorry, I should have done all of this before I started. Let me just exit out of Outlook as well, so that stops binging away in the background. So, you know, you can also look at potentially doing the demonstration here and utilizing this breakup of the different suites that we have. It's really going to be a matter of you determining what is your audience, what are the things that are going to be important to them, and which of these ways of explaining the solution is better. Personally, I really like this way of articulating what it is that we've done. And if you're only new to demonstrating Acumatica, if you're only new to positioning the solution and what the value is that it provides, this, together with the positioning guide, is a really great way of being able to articulate what Acumatica is all about. Now, there's going to be situations where you just have to, for want of a better term, we use this expression in Australia, you have to just do a show up and throw up. What do I mean by that? Well, you just have to come in and do that initial demonstration with Acumatica. And if you think about it, part of this initial demonstration is really about just catching the prospect's attention, giving them reasons to keep you in the running, giving them reasons to say, you know what, that Acumatica looks pretty good. I think we need to go and spend some more time looking at that in more detail. So that's what a lot of people call the sex and sizzle demo. Now, different partners I've spoken to have said different things. Some partners have told me, well, we don't like to do those kinds of demos. We like to focus on functionality. Others have told me, well, we don't like to do generic demos at all. We won't do a demo unless we've had the opportunity to go out and do a review of the specific customer's business processes, and we've had a chance to tailor the demo data to them. Well, all those things may and can be true, but here's the thing. you always need to have a generic demonstration approach that if you are caught on the fly, if you're caught on the hop, somebody says, I need you to go out and demonstrate to an audience, and you don't have time to do that research. You don't have time to find out who's in the audience, and you just have to do the best you can with the information you have at the time. That's where I tend to find this demonstration works particularly well. So, how does it work? Well, kind of like this. 1 second, and I will dive in now to my Acumatica demo environment. Now, just a quick reminder. You can feel free to utilize this demo server. All right, the one that I'm about to show you is a demo server that I run, and I can bring up as many different server environments as I want on this because these servers are huge. I have a lot of excess capacity, which I'm more than willing to set up a demo environment for you specifically. Just reach out to me and ask, okay, and I'll do that for you. But I have a generic demo, and why do we have that up there? Well, remember, we've launched the Acumatica Developer Network, which is an area for technical people to start getting engaged around Acumatica and finding out more about Acumatica. And as part of that, we want to give them the ability to play around with the software. So, if you go to www.smeclouderp.com, that's a URL, a domain name that I own, /Acumatica, all right, you will find that there is a standard Acumatica deployment with this demo data sitting there ready and available for you to work with. So you'll see on this system there is already on the login screen, I've given you the admin username and the password to use. And then every week on Sunday night at 12 a.m. I go ahead and I restore it back from a snapshot. All right? So I would not recommend you using this for for that critical demo, but when you just need a quick environment, maybe you can't access your own or whatever the case may be aware that this system is up and available for you. So I'm just going to log in as the administrator, and then I'm going to put in my password. So what I want to do right now is I want to kind of go into role play mode, and I'm going to now forget that you are an audience of partners, and I'm going to pretend that you are an audience of potential customers, of prospective partners, whatever. So every week on a Wednesday, I do an introduction to Acumatica session. And the demo that I'm going to take you through is kind of the 15-minute quick demo that I usually do as part of that webinar. And it's also one of the quick demos that I do anytime I'm doing an industry session. All right, so where I want to talk about specific industry issues, specific industry opportunities, specific industry topics, and then I just want to give a quick generic demonstration of Acumatica. All right, so I'm going to give you the demonstration, and then I'm going to come back and talk a little bit about some of the key things that I think are important to focus on. So here we go. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to log into Acumatica. Now, a couple of key things to remember with Acumatica is that because Acumatica was built specifically for the cloud, the only client you need to access your Acumatica deployment, pardon me, is a web browser. So it doesn't matter whether you're using Internet Explorer, whether you're using Safari, Google Chrome, if you're using one of the open source web browsers, or if you're using a mobile device, be it an Android, iPhone, Windows Phone, as long as you have a web browser, you can access the Acumatica user interface. Now, the very first thing that it asks me for is my username and password. And then you can also switch it on so that if you have multiple companies, the system can give you the option of choosing which company you want to log into, because Acumatica does support multiple companies. Common question we get from people, and can you do intercompany transactions? And the short answer to that question is yes, and there's a number of different ways of doing it, but we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Now, important to note, as I log in, I'm logging in as the administrator. So this is the super user. So I have access to pretty much everything in the system. So if I go into some things during this demonstration and you're thinking, wow, I'm not necessarily sure I want my guys in the warehouse to be able to have access to that information, bear in mind you can lock all that down, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But I am logging in as the administrator, so I can go and show you pretty much anything and everything in the system. All right, so bear that in mind. So I put in my username and password, and then I choose Login. Now, the very first screen I'm going to get in the system is really dependent on how I've configured the system for me, because everything about Acumatica is personalized. So you personalize everything either according to you as an individual or based on the role that you fulfill inside your organization. Maybe you're a salesperson, so there's specific things that you're going to want to see. Maybe you're a finance person, so again, you're going to have a different set of things that you want to specifically see. Right now, I'm logged in, and I've said when I log in, I want to log in with the role or persona of a salesperson. So what's the very first thing I get? Well, the very first thing I get is my sales dashboard. Now, ERP is really all about tracking information, but it's not about the information necessarily that you put in. That's important for compliance and actually running the business, but it's really more important to know how do I get the data out. And the best ERP solutions will have a dashboarding and reporting layer that makes it easy for you to get that information out. And guess what? Acumatica has that. So what you're seeing right here is my sales dashboard. So as a salesperson, this is showing me all the opportunities that I am working on right now. Okay, it's showing me all of the customers, my top 10 customers, and what percentage contribution do they have to my total sales. It's showing me my sales history over a period of time. But then importantly, it's showing me some additional things like my sales leads that I have that are available. And also, if I scroll down, it's also giving me access to some transactions. So with Acumatica, when you build your role-based dashboard, not only is it showing you a snapshot of the key performance indicators that you have determined are important to you and help you manage your day-to-day activity, but if there are functions that you need to access on a regular basis, you can put those in here as well. For example, entering sales leads. I can go here, and with one click, it takes me into the functionality where I enter my sales leads. All right? So I'm just going to go back. And again, because Acumatica is running inside a web browser, if I need to know how to go back, I just use the back key in the web browser. So is there anything that you need to learn about using Acumatica? Well, if you already know how to use a web browser, you already know how to navigate through Acumatica. Why is that important? Because it helps reduce the amount of time it takes for your people to learn the software. And the quicker they can learn the software, the quicker you can get to the point where you're starting to generate value from the investment that you've made in the software. All right? So this is my dashboard, and again, it's specifically structured for me as a salesperson. Now, I want to take you through a couple of things in the user interface because you're going to have access to this same demo environment after we've finished today's session. So you'll be able to navigate around and have a little bit of a play around in the system. So let me just quickly take you through a couple of those things. Now, I'm demonstrating the software to you now. This is not training, so I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail, just enough to show you how it all works. So Acumatica being a web-based solution, it's kind of a little bit like working with a website. And for those of you who are familiar with, working with websites, and there are particular ways that you describe the components or the elements on a web page, we use a similar way of describing them. We talk about something called a sitemap, for example. And a sitemap in web technology speak is really just a listing of all the different links, all the different pages and areas on the website. So in Acumatica, we talk about the sitemap. And every time you're looking at this section over here on the left-hand side, this is really where we start talking about what's in the sitemap. but it starts above here as well in your top level menu, and then you choose which of the key areas in Acumatica you want. Now, remember, Acumatica is broken up into a number of suites: the finance suite, the distribution suite, the project suite. So these, to a certain extent, relate back to those suites. So, for example, if I'm interested in working in distribution, this is areas like inventory, sales order entry, sales invoice entry, all of those kinds of things. Well, where would I go? I'd go into my distribution suite. And then underneath the distribution suite, I have these specific module areas. So my inventory, I can pick my sales orders. Maybe I'm in the purchasing team, so I'll look at purchase orders. Or maybe in my organization, we actually want to start off with purchase requisitions that then go through to a purchasing manager, and that purchasing manager then turns those purchase requisitions into purchase orders. Well, guess what? You go here into purchase requisitions. All right? So let's look at sales orders for a second. That then takes us into another area, and let's look at this in a little bit more detail. What we have here is an extension to our sitemap. I kind of like to call this my work panel almost, because this is where I manage the work that I am going to do. So I have a couple of different options here, and you can see them across the top. I have my main work area. This is where I go ahead and I enter transactions. Now, there are individual transactions that you can do, like sales orders, like purchase orders, like inventory transfers, and so on and so forth. But sitting off the back of those, it's often a case where you want to have some automated processes related to that as well. So, for example, you might enter sales orders all morning. Your sales order entry people are sitting there madly punching orders till they get to, a cutoff point. Let's say it's, 1 p.m. And part of your business process is at 1 p.m. you then go and you take all those orders and you move them across to shipping. So you want to take all of those orders and you want to process them across in bulk and turn them into picking slips or whatever the case may be. And that's really what this process function is all about. It's where you take those business processes that can impact on multiple documents and you run them. So this, for example, is where you go ahead and you process all of your orders. And all the way through Acumatica, you have a number of these different processes. You have one screen that potentially handles multiple processes. Again, why do we do that? Because it's all about making it easy for your people to learn and understand the software, how it works. When you're familiar with one screen, you're familiar with all of them. All right, so for example, I might want to now go ahead and create my shipments. So I'll choose to create shipments. And now what it's giving me right now, it's giving me a list of all the available shipments that are scheduled to be done before or up to today's date. So that's why I see so many of them. So again, of course, anywhere in Acumatica where you want to work with transactions in bulk, there are a number of different ways of limiting those down. All right? And then you can add additional, what I like to call selection criteria. These are different ways that you can narrow this down. Let's say you just want to create shipments for a particular customer. No problem. Go across here to the customer field, hit the lookup button, and then you can pick the particular customer that you're interested in looking at. And then you select that customer, and what the system will then do, it will only show you the open sales orders for that customer, and then you can hit the Process All button, okay, or the Process button. And then it will go ahead and process those transactions for you. All right? Now, that's the process function. This other button that you can see here, well, funnily enough, there's a lot of rich reporting options that are available to you inside Acumatica. So you can execute the process of generating your forms, generating quotes in printed form, or emailing them and sending them out directly to your customer from inside Acumatica, processing your sales order forms, your pick lists, shipment confirmations, carrier labels, and so on. As well as that, all of your audit trails are available here. Your sales order summaries, your sales order details by customer, and so on. And anytime you create any new reports, you can put them into this area in the sitemap. All right, and I'm going to show you how you do that in a second. Then the last area that you have across here is your configuration. Now this is kind of the area that you traditionally would lock most users out of. Alright, so they would not have the capability to go into here. But again, remember, I'm the administrator. How do I know that, by the way? I look across here in the top right hand corner and it shows me which user I am. So I'm the administrator. That's why I have access to all these setup areas. But of course I'm not going to go into that because you don't really want to see how setup is done in a demonstration. Suffice it to say, we have a standard implementation methodology that we work with, and part of that process in that implementation methodology is going through and defining how the system needs to be set up. So it's a little bit like being a carpenter. The rule of being a carpenter is measure twice and cut once. So that's what the implementation methodology is all about. It's about defining all of these things in advance, so when we start the implementation, this process is very quick, very easy, and accurate. All right? So let's go back here now to our order entry. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to enter a sales order. Now, when I'm entering any transactions, I've only got a certain amount of screen space to work with, and it varies from device to device and computer to computer. Now, in web design terminology, when you build a website, which is fundamentally what Acumatica is, that's the way you see it, it looks just like a normal website, you can use a technology, and that technology is really focused on having the screens automatically adapting to the different screen size and relaying out the information on the screen according to the screen size. All right, that's called responsive web design. And Acumatica is built with this whole concept of responsive web design in mind. What do I mean? So let's go ahead and take a look. With Acumatica, what I can do is, if the screen size changes, notice I have my buttons across the top and I have these tab areas across here. If my screen size changes, all right, and I've just gone ahead and I've changed my screen size, and let's go back here. I'm clicking on the wrong area, and I'll close this down and just bring this back up. When I am working with different screen sizes in the software, one of the things that you want it to do is you want it to automatically resize according to the screen available space that you have. So if I go back here into my sales orders, you'll see that as I move my screen around and as I resize my screen, the way that the tabs are shown changes as well. So I can come in here and you'll notice I have a certain number of tabs available. The rest of the tabs are accessible through this extension function. If this screen gets smaller, let's assume I'm now working with, say, an iPhone. Well, again, you can see that the screen automatically adapts here as well. So the number of tabs that are visible that get shown automatically adjust on the fly. Now, if I'm working with a smaller screen real estate area, I might not necessarily want to have all of these functions sitting here. So again, one click moves that out of the way. It's always available to bring my work area, my navigation pane back, but I can move it out of the way and automatically get access to more screen real estate here. So this is really what we call responsive design, and a great way of seeing this, and again remember you can go and access this website yourself. If you use an iPad or an Android device, go and access the website, log in and try this for yourself. All right, turn your device from portrait mode to landscape mode. So turn it on its side and you'll see how the user interface automatically adapts to the different layout and shows you different pieces of information accordingly. So that's an indication that the software has been built with the web in mind. One other point that I would like to make as we're talking about those different devices that you can use. Right now I'm doing my demonstration using a touch screen. So I can very, very quickly and easily utilize my finger to navigate my way through Acumatica. So I can tap on actions. So you'll notice here is my mouse. It's going to sit there, so I can tap on actions. I can tap on reports with my finger. If I want to do a lookup on the sales order type, I can tap on the lookup there on the order type. So the buttons are nice and big, and the system is really designed to work well in a touch-enabled environment. I want to jump to my payment settings, just one tap with my finger. I want to open up those additional tabs. Again, I can choose my discount details. So that whole concept of working with a touch-based device is absolutely built into the core software. All right, so I'm going to go back out into full screen mode again, and you'll see now I have a full range of information available to me. A couple of other things I want to point out for you with the user interface. I can go in here into my document details. So right now I'm in a sales order, and I'll choose a customer that I want to create the sales order for, and let's say I want to create it for I'll create it for New York International Beauty. Right, so I choose that customer. It automatically pulls in all the rules from the back-end system about that customer. But I can, if I want to, I can click here on that pencil button, and what it will do, it will enable me to go and make, if I have the user rights, it will enable me to call up that customer, and I can go in and make changes to that customer on the fly. I can change their billing settings, the delivery settings, I can set up the locations that they have, and so on. So the key to using Acumatica, and the key to the way that it's been designed, is that it's quick and easy, and you can quickly and easily jump to any area in the software that you need to. You can also go in here and you'll see that there are actions. Now I'm already creating a sales order, but the system is what I like to call context aware. It knows where you are and presents a list of functions for you based on where you are. All right, so it knows that right now I'm in a customer, so I might want to create a new invoice, create a new sales order, create a new payment, add a location, add a new contact, extend this customer into a vendor, and a whole range of additional things. But again, that's one of the smart things that we've done with the Acumatica application, is make it context aware. And this is one of those things when we moved into the next generation of web applications. They moved from just being able to be run in a web-based environment, but they also moved into being more context sensitive. So the functionality that's available to you is based on what you're doing at the time. Same thing with your inquiries and your reports. All right? But let's go back, and I'm now still looking at my same customer. And now I can go in and I can start putting in the details about this particular transaction. So in order to add a new line, well, if I'm looking at this row, all right, there's a couple of things that I can do. Now, when I hover over any one of these icons, if I'm not sure what it does, all I do is hover over it, and it gives me a quick tip to tell me that, for example, this is going to switch between a grid and a form. So some people like to do data entry in grids depending on the amount of information that they have to put in. Other people find it's easier to use simple forms where I'm only seeing one line item at a time. We give you the flexibility. But then I've got this option here, which is to add a row. So again, all I do is I click there on Add Row, and it brings me into my data entry mode. So when I'm doing my data entry, I now have the capability to be able to move quickly and easily through these fields. And the system will pre-populate a bunch of that information for me. A couple of other things to be aware of. If I just want to maximize or adjust each of these screen sizes, these field sizes according to my available space in the system, I go here and I choose Fit to Screen. And you'll now see what's it done. It has now shrunk down all of that information so it all fits on one screen. Well, that's great, but it's kind of a little bit hard to read. That's probably an indication that maybe I've got too much information on this screen, and I want to change that. Well, how do I do that? Again, with Acumatica, really quick and really easy. I just go across here to this little icon, and I click on that, and that brings me up a list, and it says, well, these are all the available columns that you can include in the sales order, and these are all the ones that have been selected. And it says these are the ones that enable you to attach information to. So, for example, let's say I don't want to show the purchase order number. So I select it, move it across to the side. I don't want the purchase order type. I select that, move it across to the side. Maybe I don't want the project task, and I don't want the line description. And I also don't want the alternate ID and commissionable. So in order to do multiple selects in one of these devices or in one of these boxes, again, you're probably familiar with in a web browser working in websites, you usually just hold down the control key, and in Acumatica it's absolutely no different. So then I'll select those and say OK, and what did I do then? My bad, made a mistake. I actually forgot to move them across. So I can quickly go back, select them again, 1, 2, 3, 4, move them across, and I can hit save. And now you can see I'm only showing a smaller number of those fields. So then if I say fit to screen again, now it's a little bit easier. I've still got too much data to see on one screen that maybe I'm not seeing all of these fields. So again, I might decide, you know what, the easiest way to do this is actually do it through the form entry approach. So then it shows me all of these fields in the form layout, okay, rather than the grid. But I don't know if you've noticed how quick it is as I move backwards and forwards, switching between all of these different areas and going between grids and forms. Very, very quick, very, very fast. Why is that? Because Acumatica is built for the web. It's built for web browsers, and we've spent a lot of time focusing on making sure that the system runs quickly. Now, by the way, this server that I'm using for this demonstration, where do you think it is? Well, this server is actually sitting in a server farm in Sydney, Australia. That's where I have a whole bunch of my demo servers set up. So no matter where you are in the world, you can access that information, and you can access it quickly and easily. A couple of other things I'd like to show you. So we've looked at this user interface here from a transactional perspective. I'm just going to cancel out of that screen, and you'll see it asks me any unsaved changes will be discarded, and that's okay. I don't mind that. It takes me right back to where I started. I want to jump into a grid view, or a view of a whole range of different pieces of data. So one of the best ways of looking at that is through what we call a generic inquiry, because it's great to get the data in, and what we've done here is focus on getting the data in, but I also want to be able to get the data out. Now, in order to do that, then what I'll do is I'll go across here, and I'll go into customization, which is in my system area, and I'll create a generic inquiry. So the whole purpose of generic inquiries is generic inquiries give you the ability to go and say, this is just the information that I want to see. Maybe it's not being shown in a specific screen, or it's not being shown exactly the way you want it. So you can go and build your own generic inquiry. For those of you who are familiar with it, this is a little bit like building a SQL query, and SQL stands for Structured Query Language, which is the language by which you write queries. Well, what our tool does is it means you don't have to know anything about writing SQL statements. You can just use a point-and-click interface to be able to build that. And then once you've built it, you can save it, and then once you've saved it, you can then publish it across here into the sitemap. So I'm just going to quickly show you how we do that. Now, in Best Television Chef style, here's one that I've created earlier. So this is a view, a generic inquiry, which shows me my sales orders and quotes. So you can see there's a couple of things I've done here. I've said, all right, do I want to limit this to a certain number of records? For example, do I want to see the top 10? Do I want to see the top 5? Do I want to see the top 20? Or do I want to see all of them? Well, right now I've said I want to see all of them, so I leave that set to 0. And then it's saying, how do I want my parameters when it asks me for parameters to limit which orders it shows me? Do I want those in 2 columns, 3 columns, 4 columns? And do I want those results on a specific page? All right, so a couple of other things there. Again, my purpose here is not to teach you how to use the software, but just to show you. Now, the data sits in certain tables inside Acumatica, and the good news is our developers are relatively smart people, so they know that, well, you probably don't necessarily want to work with technical names like px.objects.ar.customer, but you want to call it like the customer table and the sales order table. So that's the purpose of these aliases. So you select that that's where the information is going to come from. Then you can build relationships between the fields. And again, I can quickly move that up. So you can see that there is a relationship here between the sales order and the customer information. And there's a specific join, and I'm joining it where the customer ID in the sales order is equal to the account ID in the customer table. All right? And then I can specify some parameters. And the parameters are things that I can get it to ask me for, to narrow down on the dates that I'm interested in selecting on, to limit it by customer, specify additional conditions. There's a whole range of things that you can do. Now, the concept behind this is for many people, a lot of the customization they want to do is just about getting data in an inquiry view that's quick and easy. That's really what this is about. So once all of this is done, selecting your conditions, selecting your grouping, the sort order, how do you want it sorted? Do you want it sorted by customer, by postcode, by sales rep? Once you've got all of this set up, you can then publish it, and your end users just simply have to remember to click on one screen. I'm going to show you that. And then you've got your results grid. This is where we're saying, okay, when you've executed that statement, just show me these values. Show me the order type, the order number, the status, the account name, the order date, the currency, and the order total. Now, I might want to add one more field to that. So I just click on Add Row. All right, and then I come in here, and it will ask me, okay, this row, where do you want the data to come from? Do you want it to come from the sales order field or the customer, from the sales order table or the customer table? So I'll say I want it to come from the customer table. And then the fields that I see in this drop-down list, these are all the fields in the customer table. So I might want to see the customer class ID description. So I'll select that, and that's it. So I then go ahead, and what's the logical button to click here? Well, the one that looks like a floppy disk, because everybody uses that as the save function. I hit save, and that's now done. All right? So that view is now ready to run. Now I can view that just simply by clicking View Inquiry, and it will go ahead and it will execute that inquiry for me. And there you go. There is my parameters that I can specify. So I can narrow it down, or what I can do is just let it accept the defaults. And there they are. There's all of those results. Okay? So I've got all those results now. What do I want to do with them? Well, maybe I might want to push them out to Excel. I'm going to come back to that in a second, because anywhere you see this Export to Excel button, you can take that information and push it out to Excel. All right? But I've now got that view. Let's go back. And I've got a little bit of an issue there in my code, but I'll go back and debug that later. You'll see what this has done is this is automatically been created in my sitemap. It's already been put here into my sales orders and quotes area. So when I click on sales orders and quotes, it runs that particular generic inquiry. How did it get in here? Well, remember, in my customization, in my generic inquiry, one of the things that I was able to specify, here it is the sitemap location. All right? So I look at my sitemap location, and I can say, well, exactly where do I want it? I go and I specify now whereabouts using a combination of these different areas. So right now this is in the distribution area, so it's going to sit under here. In the sales order area, it's in my reports, and it's in my audit area. Now let's say, for example, if I expand that out, you'll see it's currently here. Sales orders and quotes. There it is. Let's say, for example, I actually want to put it in the work area. So I'll go in here into enter, and then I'll select that, all right, and I can double click on it, and that's now where it will be. I hit save, and so now when I go in here and I'll say distribution, sales orders, it's automatically coming into my work area under enter, and there it is, sales orders and quotes. So you can tailor the entire system to meet your requirements. So with that, I've given you a little bit of an overview of the user interface in Acumatica. We've talked a little bit about some of the ways that you can customize the system. We've looked at how quick, simple, and easy it is to navigate around the software. And we've also looked at a couple of other areas in the software as well. That's all I have time for right now, but one thing I would like to show you is one more area. If this is an area that you're constantly using, one of the things that you can do is you can add this into your favorites. You'll see up the top right now, I actually have this little star, and that is my favorites area. If I want to add this particular function into my favorites, all I need to do is click on the star next to it, and then that then appears inside my favorites. So then when I go to favorites, what I will see in my favorites list is I will see not only the other things that I've added to my favorites already, but I will see my sales orders and quotes as well. So with that, I'm going to kick back out of demo mode. Now obviously with the available time we have, we've only got 2 minutes left. You know, you need to be very, very careful and think about how much time do you have available for you in the demonstration, and then time it accordingly. But what I've done there is I've taken the prospective customer through an overview. There are 2 things that I haven't had time to cover yet, and those 2 things are the export to Excel functionality, okay, and also talking about customization projects. So that would take me probably about another 10 to 15 minutes, and in next week's session I'm going to kick off and start with that to make sure that you've seen how I would take somebody through those areas. So with that, I'm just going to quickly check, and I can see that I've got some feedback from people that we're having audio issues, and again I do apologize for that. And a couple of other people have said that they cannot see the screens. So I'm going to address this for our next session and make sure that we have or we don't have these audio issues. So again, my apologies if you had that challenge, but you should find that in the replay we won't have any of those audio issues. So with that, please feel free to get back to me with any additional feedback that you have. And just a reminder, our next session will not be next Friday. It will be the following Friday, because next Friday here in the US is the 4th of July, and I'm taking advantage of that holiday, so I'm going to take that day off as well, and no doubt many of you will also. So please come back to me, give me your feedback on what you found worked. I hear loud and clear about the issues with the audio, and again, my apologies. I'm actually in Las Vegas at the moment, sitting in my hotel room doing this demo session because I'm over here meeting with a partner. So I do apologize about the quality of the internet connection. But feel free to come back in, review the recording. I look forward to seeing you the week after next. We'll kick off and I'm going to show you the Excel and the customization demo components of the generic demo. And then we're going to talk a little bit about a specific industry. We're going to talk specifically about the wholesale and distribution industry. And I'm going to take you through some key components and some key tools that I use to talk about specific industries. Also, if anybody would like to volunteer to take us through their way of doing a demonstration, just let me know via email. My email address is rduffy@acumatica.com. Drop me a note and I will drop you into the agenda, and you'll have the opportunity to show others how you demo, to practice your demonstration, and so on and so forth. And don't forget, you can also use your demonstration if you present in this session. It will provide you your qualification that you need to do a mock demo and achieve your sales engineer badge as well in our certification process. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. We're 1 minute past. Thanks again for taking the time to join. Feedback, feedback, feedback. That's the critical thing. You need to tell me what you want so I can make sure that I adjust and address those key issues for you. But with that, I will say enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend that's coming up. And I'll talk to you next, the week after next, unless I speak to you beforehand. Thanks again. Bye-bye.